Okay, so let's get started. We're using the Bernat Softy Chunky line today, and we are using a size J hook, which is a 6-point-millimeter hook, as we've talked about already. So just put your yarn aside and let's start off with our slip knot. We are going to work from the center of the square outward. So let's begin. Let's do our slip knot. Okay, and we just want to wrap it around our finger twice. Be a little bit generous on the tail that you want, because you're going to want to bury it in there so you can't see it. So this is the front and the back. Let's take the back over the front, just like so, and kind of hold it down. And then using your other fingers here, stabilize it, and just to hold it. And then just pick this up and pull it over your finger. And now slip in your hook. So pull everything a little bit snug. Don't be reefing on it that it's really too tight. Now this never counts as one in any crochet project. And what I want you to do is I want you to chain 4. So this is not 1. So let's go. So pushing your hook back, grabbing the material, pulling it through for 1, do the same, 2, do the same, 3, do the same, and 4. So now we need to create a circle, because at this point we only have a line. So what we have to do is slip in our hook into the very first part of the chain. So what we want to do is just slip in your hook, and before you get too carried away and jump ahead of me, what I want you to do is pull down the material like it's a U shape, like a horseshoe. Pull it down, and I want you to get the straggler in check, so I want you to pull that down as well. And when you're holding it, hold that straggler down with that side of the crochet, or with your side of the chain, just like so. And now grab your material and pull it through. And by holding it now, you know exactly where your center point is. So let's go on with your next step. So moving along, what we need to do is we need to create the center point, just like here. So we're on this line right here, not this one, so right there. So let's begin to do that. So we need to chain up 3. So grabbing the material, pull through 1, pull through 2, pull through 3 for 3. Now that actually counts as one of the double crochet that's working its way around. They say it's a count of 16. That's because they're including the actual chain. So holding down the straggler on top of the line, just on the one side. Okay, we want to trap that straggler into position. So let's double crochet 15 times going into the center. And what I normally do is I just put a whack in there, and by whack I mean just a lot. And just holding down the straggler on top of the line, it actually seals that straggler into position. And if the straggler's too long, you can safely cut whatever's left sticking out of it at the end, and not worry about cutting it too short to the knot that it's actually going to make your project fall apart. So just continue to put in there. We need a total of 15 double crochets, and the chain acts as a double crochet, so it's actually a total of 16. So let's keep on going. So let's double crochet ourselves, and you're just kind of rotating, and as you're rotating, you're making sure that straggler is kind of staying on top so that you can continue to seal that bad boy into position. Okay, so keep going. And where you think you got enough, and if you want to keep count, I find it hard to keep count to 16 when I'm double crocheting, especially if you're watching TV. So we pull the chain apart, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and let's do more, 2 more. This is 15, and then 16. And now we want to create a slip stitch. So what we just need to do, this is the chain that came out when we started, we want to put it into the one that's on the top. So in, pulling the material through, and therefore you have the starting point. So let's move on to your next video. So now we're going to create what is called almost like a petal area, but in actual fact we're now creating a circle, and that is really easy to actually do. It's more simpler than you realize. So let's begin again, and we want to chain up 4 this time. And the reason why we're chaining up 4, I'll explain it in a second. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, and now we want to go into the very next stitch available, which is right there, for a double crochet. Okay, and the reason why we went 4 is that we need to create the gap that is in between the petal, just like so. So in order to do that, if you would have done 2 or only chained up 3 and then double crocheted, you wouldn't be creating a gap that makes it separate like that. So every time you get a double crochet done, chain 1, and then go into the very next stitch Okay, so chain 1 and double crochet into the very next stitch as you go around. And we want to do that completely all the way around. And I explained to you earlier upstairs that, you know, I do everything in stages. So what I would do, because this is the final part of the green before switching to the white, I would have done a whack of these circles at the same time, because your mind is prepared to count, it's prepared to make the same steps in your hands, and it's a lot easier than it is to somehow change your process every time with the different things that you need to do with the square. So chaining 1 in between each one of the... So you need an actual total of 16, okay? And you need to make sure, you have to count and make sure you have those 16 before finalizing this rotation. If you do not finalize it, you may end up with 1 extra or 1 short, and then when you go to do your white step, you'll realize it, and then you'll have to backtrack. So it's easier to count at the end of this thing. Now you'll find probably the next one is actually your last, because I've done like 49 of these, well actually probably 50. So this is your last one. So you'll notice it's kind of like falling away, so let's do a count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. And because this is the final double crochet, you have to chain 1 in order to make it consistent. And so just work your way up. So 1, 2, and 3. Grab the third one up on the chain that you started with in order to keep the distance consistent. Okay, so now we want to finish off the green. So just grabbing your fancy dancy scissors over your hand just like so. And now this is what I do. Okay, so I pull the material out, okay, and now I push it back behind the material, and I put the hook right in the actual gap itself that's right beside it. And now using my 2 fingers, I'm holding the yarn so that it doesn't all the way come out. So I'm still holding it slightly back here. I pulled it toward the front, and what I want to do is I want to feed that little straggler through that loop to create like a knot. And then I want to pull it snug. So now the remainder of these loops, I always pull the material back through that same hole, and now I want to work that material into the top stitches as I'm working away. So that was the top stitch there. Now I have a gap, so just wrap it around the gap. Okay, and now let's go in the top of the next stitch. And because the white is actually going to be grabbing onto this area, you don't have to worry about this too much at all, because you will never see this as part of your square. Voila. So you can just leave that little straggler on, and we can fix that later. And therefore the center point is now done of this particular thing. So it doesn't look quite the same, does it? It looks completely circular, and we're going to change it as we switch on to the white. So let's get started with your next part. So moving right along, we're now going to add the white in here, and you'll notice that there's a definite look of one side to another, and you'll notice that it's slightly a bowl shape. And so you want to continually, you can switch this around and start going from the other side if you want to be that creative. It's up to you, but all of this is done on one side and the other side looks completely different. So it doesn't really matter where you finish it off, because it's a consistent circle, that you can just start the white in any one of the spots. So let's do that. So let's get your slip knot going. So around your finger twice, the back over the forward, the back up again. Okay, and so now we want to pull it snug. So we can just stick your hook in any one of the gaps along the circle. It doesn't really matter. I try to avoid going into the same spot that I finished off of, so I just go somewhere else. But it doesn't make a difference exactly where you put it. So grabbing the straggler and the yarn, you're going to pull it through the hole, and then I use my finger to pull that slip knot up and over. Okay, and now that counts as 1. So grab the straggler and the yarn again and pull it through like a chain. That counts as 2. And if you still have more straggler, just pull it through again. Okay, and so we wanted to chain 3. So let me just try that. So we just want to put that through. So you want a total of 3 chains like you normally would. And we can trim this straggler on afterward. But what I would strongly recommend is that instead of trimming it later, just go down in, because we want to create, this is one of the chains, so we want to create 2 double crochets into the same gap that you just started that in. So just going into the same hole. Okay, put that straggler down on the line, and wrap the material through it like that. Just pull it through, and then 2 and 2, and that was a double crochet. So if you still have more straggler, just do it again. So just making sure it's trapped in, and you want a total of 3. So the chaining counted as 1 and then 2 double crochets. We now then want to chain 1, and now this is where it kind of gets really interesting, like the petal shape. You see everything's in groups of 2s. So now you just chained 1, so just jump over 2 of the actual spokes as per se, and just jump over and put in 3 double crochets. Okay, just like so. So now we want to chain 1 again. Okay, and this is where we change the circle to an actual square in this point. So now we want to jump over 2 more spokes, and this will be the corner piece. Now you'll see that this is where we finished off the other material. We want to kind of trap that in a position as much as we can, making sure that the white is wrapping around that string that we weaved in the edge, and that helps it really from falling apart later. So now that is considered a corner, so I call it the 3-2-3 configuration. So 3 double crochets, 2 chains, and 3 double crochets, and let's go 3 more into the same hole. And that's causing it to turn a corner. Like so. So now we want to chain 1 again, and I call it the runway. Then the runway for me is any point of a granny square where you're not actually turning. So we're going to put 3 double crochets. Okay, and now we're going to chain 1, and we're now back on a corner again. So jumping over 2 on the spokes, and just double crochet again for your 3-2-3 configuration. So 3 double crochets, 2 chains, and 3 double crochets into the same hole for another corner piece. Okay, chain 1, and now going on the runway, which is the piece in between the corners, jumping over 2 again, and double crocheting 3 more times. Okay, and now chain 1 and back onto another corner, so we want to jump over another 2. One and 2. And then the 3-2-3 configuration to make the square. And now we want to chain 1 again, and we're in the center again. And this is why it was so important that you made sure you had 16. So we're putting the 3 double crochets into the spot, and it was so important that you actually had the 16 in there, because you'll end up with an odd number at this point if you don't. Now we're going to finish off, and so we chain 1, and when we started with 3 double crochets and then 3, because this part is the starting of a corner. It's like so. So this, when we come back around, we're finishing off that same corner. So for 3 double crochets inside that corner, and then to finish the corner, right, it's not complete yet because you need to put 2 chains. And now slipping your, it's called the slip stitch, just slip your hook into the top of the first chain that we did, pulling it through and through. And therefore you have that done. So let's move on to your second round of white. Okay, so we just finished here, and now we're doing the second rotation of the white, and this is like it would be normal crochet or granny square. So let's chain up your 3. So 1, 2, and 3. And now this is part, remember what I said, we just finished off this corner over here. So we always start on the one side of the corner, work our way around, and finish it off on the corner. So just double crochet going into the same gap that you just made, and put 2 double crochets. And so with the chaining of the 3 and the 2 double crochets, that actually equals 3. So now we want to chain 1 and work our way along the runway. So where there's a gap, just put in 3 double crochets. Okay, and now we are still in the runway, so chain 1 and into the next hole. Okay, and now we are on a corner, so chain 1 and do your 3 2 3 configuration. So 3 double crochets, 2 chains, and 3 double crochets. Okay, now we're back on the runway again, so let's chain 1 and going across. Okay, so that was 3 in that one, chain 1, 3 in the next one. Granny squares are really simple to do. And we're now back on the corner, so chain 1 and going into the 3 2 3 configuration for the next corner. So it was 3 double crochets, 2 chains, 3 double crochets. Okay, chain 1 going on to the runway. So again, this is a 3 in a row. Okay, chain 1 going into the next one for another 3. Chain 1, we're back on another corner. So how do you know when you're actually at the last corner? It's very obvious because the next row is actually going to be in your way, so you won't be able to cross it without knowing about it. So that's corner, so that was 3, 2, and 3 configuration. You need those 2 chains in order to make that corner successful, and if you do 3 then it gets pretty sloppy, so if you did the 3 3 3. So we're back on the runway, and this is the final before coming back to the other side. And we're gonna cast off at the end of this line as well, because we're now ready to reinsert the green back into position. So 3, and then chain 1 going into the next one, which is part of the runway. So with every rotation of your granny square, you're actually growing it significantly on all sides, which actually make your project grow pretty fast. So we're on the final. This is where we started over here. We're on the final, completing the final corner. So we're going to put in 3. Okay, and now to finish it completely is chain 2, and we want to do a slip stitch into the top of the one that we started with. Pulling it through and through. So let's begin to cast off. I always just turn over my hand, put in my fancy dancy scissors, and I pull out the yarn, and this is exactly what I do. I flip it over toward the back of the project, and now I use my 2 fingers and I pinch it, and I pull in the yarn underneath so that I continually have that loop up there. So it's now back through the front, and I want to push it back through that actual loop again, causing it to rotate around itself, so it's kind of securing itself onto itself. I will then stick in my hook into the actual corner, pulling it back out, and now what we want to do, the whole point when you're going to cut it is that you want to make sure that your straggler at least gets past the first gap along the runway. So let's so I pushed it back. We're going to go in the top of this stitch here, and we're just going to pull the material through it, throw it back over, next stitch, pull it through, pull it back, through, and now what I need you to do is just wrap it around this actual gap area itself. And because you're working with the green up into the gapping areas, the green, when it goes into that spot, is really going to secure this loose straggler into position. And because the way that you tied it in the beginning here, this thing will not unravel. So you can either, I would wait before you start trimming these things and wait just until your final square. You get the green, and then you can just be safely starting to trim any loose strings as per se. So let's move on to the next part. Okay, so now we want to reintroduce the green to go back around the outside just like we did before. So let's start off with a slip knot. Okay, so wrapping around your finger, back over the forward, and then back, pushing up and around. And slip in your hook again and pull it snug. So what I want you to do is that this is where we finished off, and the reason why you can see this, and I've addressed this in a video before, when you're finishing off, it looks tighter than the rest. But the neat thing about it is because this is part of a larger blanket, this whole seam area actually will be hidden. So it really doesn't matter so much. But I do it for my own security, is that I never start my rotation on this particular corner. I always choose something else. So just rotate it to wherever you feel. Now just slip in your hook into the actual corner slot of any other corner. Okay. And now taking your straggler and your yarn, putting it onto your hook from behind, and pulling it through, and using your fingers pull the slip knot over. Okay, so that was 1. So we want a total of 3 chains. So let's grab in the material and the straggler again, pulling it through for 2. Okay, and if there's more straggler, you can pull it through. You will find after doing quite a few squares that you will have nailed down exactly how long that straggler needs to be in order to get it to look like it is right now, instead of having to worry about burying it. So again, this is just like a regular corner granny square. We're going to start off. That is also considered 1. The chaining is considered 1 double crochet. So this is 1 double crochet added and 2. So the chaining and the 2 actually equal 3, if that makes any sense. And now we're on the runway, so chain 1, going into the next slot for 3 double crochets in a row. So make sure you get your square completely done before you start trimming any strings. It just will make your life easier. So we're coming up to the corner where we fastened the last coloring off, and so chaining 1. So here's where it is, and because we wrapped around that gap, when I go to put this stuff in, see, it's going to trap it even more with this string, so you can be assured that it won't unravel on itself, because it's really, because you know, crochet is like knots, really endless knots. So let's chain 1 going into the corner for a 3-2-3 configuration. 1 and 2, and then another 3. So just because I'm changing the colors exactly where I am, you have the power to change the colors even more if you want to. If you just want your centers to be a different color, you can just use the same techniques of fastening on and off, like I've already demonstrated. So just because I'm doing the coloring scheme this way doesn't mean that you have to as well. This is just a standard granny square, really. It's not really a traditional one because it's got a center that is a circle. But it's just a standard template, so it's just something that you can continually play with. And especially if you have scrap yarn, it might be kind of cool to change even all of the lines to be different from each other, if that appeals to you or not. So we're on the corner again for a 3-2-3 configuration. And back in the corner. You will find that each square, and it turned out for me that almost every square cost me about 15 minutes to 20 minutes of my time. And it all depends how good the movie was at that moment, if I looked up during that square making. But I found it did go faster if you do everything in sections, just like I've explained earlier. So do a lot of the circles at the same time. You know, put the circles down and then come do another set of something else, and then come back and maybe do the white area, and then put it down and then come back and do it. And it kind of makes it a lot easier when you have many of your squares in different processes, so that if you get bored of going around the borders all the time, you can do something different with your squares up until the final end of your project. Back on the corner again, we are doing our 3-2-3 configuration. And 2 chains, and back in again for the final 3. Okay, and you can obviously tell where the starting and the stopping point of this particular rotation is because of the color change. Back on the runway again. So overall, though, this is probably one of the most coolest blankets I've ever done. I've not really done much granny square work. I've only done like tutorial size stuff that is just a sample, so I never really get an opportunity to make very many granny square blankets because I just don't have time, because I'm always filming something along the way. So we're coming up to the end of this rotation. Okay, chain 1, and this is part of the starting of the corner, so we have to use this as the final when we're going in. So this is the final 3 to finish off this side of the corner. And of course, to make the corner complete, chain 2, 1 and 2, and then sticking your hook into the top, pulling it through and through. And now let's cast off. So just taking your fancy dancy scissors, cutting it over your hand, pulling it out, and just like we did on the white, push it backward and holding it, stabilizing it so that you can continually have a loop holding around your finger, grabbing the material and throwing it through that loop, just like so. And now grab the material, pulling it through, and now go into the top stitch, pulling it through. And we want to do the same concept that we've done before. We just want to continually work your way through the stitches and at least get past the first gap, so that when you go to do the seaming of your granny squares together, that the seam will actually catch, and so then this will not become loose string for you in the end. So there you go, and that is that part of the tutorial. So you can go onto the sheets and change your colors as many times as you want to, and then move along to actually fastening them together. Good luck, and we'll talk to you soon.